Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be doing the deep dive on Brunhild, aka Hild, because they can't use her real name. Deep dive videos, what do I do? Basically, we're going to go over everything about this hero. We're going to look at their relics. We're going to look at their passives. We're going to go over the proper gearing. We're going to go over their chivalries. We're going to go over everything we can about the new hero. And then I'm going to show you guys, are they good? Are they bad? Where are they used in the game, etc., etc. So you guys can have kind of all the information on the new hero before you start pulling on them. Although they've been in the game for a couple days now at the time of this recording, so if you are going to pull, you've likely pulled. But let's just show you what you're dealing with or what you're working with in game. So Brunhild, aka Hild, she is a Viking or a Norse Valkyrie. That's her whole model, and that's not bad. I feel like someone like a Series was done a little bit better. Maybe not. The Series had some... definitely had some assets. But Brunhild's not too bad too. So, you know, obviously Valkyrie, that's a Norse warrior. Ooh, I like the long little braid there. The wings are cool too. I have a thing for red-headed winged women wearing Thor helmets. All right, I've made it creepy. Let's just dive into Hild's kit now. Okay, let's start at the passives. Why do we start at the passives? Because the passives are going to carry over to any of the relics you have equipped for. At the time of her launch, and at the time of this recording, her Frost relic is her base relic. And the only way you can get or acquire her Wind relic or her Fire relic is by straight up purchasing them for real money. For me, being in Canada, it costs $99. I do not recommend doing that. The Frost relic, just like Arthur, how he came with the Fire relic was perfectly adequate for your Arthur. The Frost relic is going to be perfectly adequate with your Brunhild. Okay, passive number 1. Lingering Wind. At the start of battle, 100% individual chance to grant each steed, favor, ally, effect, accuracy 2 for 2 turns. Nice, but not game breaking. Obviously, Lance is going to want to run dots, or going to want to land his dots. If you're going to run Vivian, she's also got dots as well. If you're going to run Merlin Fire, he does have dots as well. Even if you're going to run Merlin Frost, he's going to have that all his CCs. So the effect accuracy increase 2, which is a 40% increase to accuracy for 2 turns. Good, not game breaking. 100% chance to inflict weathering on each enemy. So this is an AoE debuff. But weathering is considered a dot. I can show you where that is confirmed, but I have confirmed it. Weathering is, in fact, a dot. Takes 3% damage each turn, much like dots. Their effect resistance goes down by 10%, and damage taken is increased by 5%. So the more dots they have, the easier it is to apply debuffs, and the more damage you're going to do when you hit them. Which she is going to hit them really hard. And 100% chance to gain Wind Chill for the rest of the battle. Now, Wind Chill will come off. So Wind Chill, what does it do? It is your attack is going to increase by 10%, and your effect accuracy is going to increase by 10%. And you can stack this up to 2 times, meaning that she's going to have 20% attack, building, and receding throughout the battle. And effect accuracy up to 20, down to 0 from this Wind Chill effect. And then with the chivalries... obviously, the effect accuracy rate goes up. Wait a minute. Effect accuracy rate. I don't see effect accuracy rate. So because this was 80%. So at level 2, this becomes 100%. And then number effect accuracy turns goes up. So basically, the skill ups just affect this effect accuracy part of her passive, which, you know, not game breaking at all. But then this is the big shabam. This is the big whammy. When using skill 3, which is what you're going to be running mostly with Hild, 100% independent chance to inflict weathering on each enemy for 2 turns. So again, at the start of battle, she's going to inflict this weathering debuff, which is a dot. I guess I should get that straight. In this game, debuffs and dots and abnormal statuses are different things. So at the start of battle, she's inflicting weathering. Then when she uses her skill 3, she's going to be applying another weathering, which is a dot. on the enemy, and it lasts for 2 turns. Then she's going to get 100% chance to charge attack gauge by 100%. Now, it's not a true free turn. It's not a free turn. This line and this line are basically together. So she's going to do her skill 3. Then she's going to charge her attack gauge 100% just to do this move. Explosive gust. Explosive for 1 turn. So this is on a 4-turn cooldown. It starts on a 5-turn cooldown. You can take it down to 3 with it max. But keep in mind, if you're going to run her with Vivian, Vivian can reduce passives. Right? She can reduce the cooldowns on your passives. So explosive gust. This is a whole lot. Attacks all enemies 3 times. Total damage 100% of her attack. So all of her attack. Damage increases according to the effect resistance. Total additional damage per stat gives you 9% of attack. So if you had 100% effect resistance, when you do her S3, when it's off cooldown, you're going to do the damage, and then you're also going to apply, say if you had 100% effect resistance, you're going to get 90 extra % attack on the enemies. And this is an AoE. Does this actually work? So this is a contentious topic, but the more effect resistance you have, the more extra damage you can stack on. But where do you get that? Normally, you're going to be taking that on your neck. You're going to be having that on your belt. Now, the trade-off is if you have it on the neck, then you're going to be lowering her attack percentage. So, say 31% attack, you're going to remove that. And now, yes, when she does her S3, if it is an effect resistance neck, you are going to be taking those stats and converting them to attack. But it doesn't seem like the math, at least in my testing as well, and I've seen other people in my clan and elsewhere test this, it doesn't seem like stacking effect resistance is turning into more damage. And I will actually show you guys that. I will show you an example of that testing in games so you can see how that runs. But do keep in mind that is an option for gearing. 100% independent chance for the last hit to inflict this or to do this dot explosion on each enemy. Dot explosion detonates all dot effects on the targets, dealing damage. So you're basically, the dots would do their damage at the end of, or when that hero takes a turn or that opponent takes a turn. Now it's just going to do that damage instantly. It's not going to wait for them to take a turn for them to do that, or for them to take that damage. So that's how dot explosion works. Explosions will ignore 10% of the enemy's defensive stats, which is nice. If you can go through defense, that's always a good thing. 100% chance for the last hit to inflict effect resistance decrease 2 for 2 turns, lining up your subsequent dot stacking. 100% independent chance to charge attack gauge of each ally by 30%, which is nice. A nice little cherry on top. We're just going to charge up the attack gauge of all allies, not just steed allies, which is nice. So this P2, this is the big one. This is the big one. So of course, it's the last one that I can get maxed. And then the P3, when attacking, no cooldown, just when attacking, 100% chance to gain wind chill. Remember, you're going to get this wind chill at the start of battle. You're going to get 1 stack. So when you attack, you're going to get another. So say you do your S3 first. As soon as you go to attack, you're going to get that second wind chill. If you have 2 or more, which you will, after you do your first attack, you will have 2. Then it is going to remove them. It is going to give you attack increase 2, which is 40% increased attack. So you see how there's these multiple layers of attack stacking, multiplying. And she's going to grant each steed favor ally effect actually 2. That doesn't really matter. But then she's also going to inflict weathering on the selected target for 2 turns. So it's all about this first turn setup. So you see she's going to start with a stack of wind chill, and she's going to apply weathering. Then if you say you're doing your S3, you're going to apply weathering, but then you're going to explode it. It's going to take it off. So then if you think about this, as soon as you do your attack, you're going to first apply that wind chill. So the wind chill is all going to come off. You're going to get that increased attack increase 2 for that 1 turn. And then after the dot explosion or before, so you're going to, maybe there's possibly 3 dots, you're going to apply this weathering. Now it says on the selected target for 2 turns. This doesn't make sense that if it was a dot explosion, why it wouldn't just be 1 turn. But I guess you're also dot explosions on a cooldown. So yes, so she has multiple. She's basically just an attack engine with applying dots throughout to help fuel her attack engine. So that's all her passives. Fairly straightforward, complex enough that I like it, but easy enough that it's easy to comprehend. And simple is sometimes better. Is it simple, though? Is it simple, though? I don't know. Okay, let's talk about relics now. Okay, she comes in Frost Relic. They're all fairly similar. Now, let's start at the big one. This is the one you're going to be spamming most often, which, of course, I need one more point in. Attack all enemies 2 times. Total damage equals, up to 150% of her attack. 100% chance for the last hit to inflict chill for 1 turn. So, again, more dots. So she's applying weathering at the start of battle. Then, when she does this, she's going to apply chill. But remember that from her P3, she's also going to apply, or P2, sorry. No, P3. She's going to apply weathering as well when she attacks. So she's going to stack up a bunch of weathering, especially if you use her P3, which applies weathering. Or her skill 3 applies weathering, but you're also going to get it from the P3. So she's going to put a chill down and 3 weathering. So she's going to add all these now. After adding all these dots herself, which is insane that she actually adds that much on her first turn, the target will have a dot because remember at the start of battle she's inflicting dots. So she's going to deal additional damage another time for 75% attack. This is going to be a base of 65% attack. So basically this turns into this hit 2 times, 135. This goes up to 150 plus 75. So a big, huge nuking AoE, especially when all of her passives are off cooldown. Her skill 2, attack 1 enemy 2 times. Again, 175% of attack. This can go up if you have it maxed to 195. And then with this one, each point of resistance increases damage per hit. Again, that 0.9%. 90% chance that you can get this up to 100% chance at level 4. So 100% chance to inflict more weathering, which is her native dot with the Frost Relic for 1 turn. And then her skill 1, attack 1 enemy, a little bit of damage. Again, you're getting a little bit of more damage from resistance. And you got a 60% chance to inflict a chill dot for 1 turn. Only 60% chance. So, her skill 3, big, huge AoE nuke. It will also trigger the dot explosion if it's off cooldown. Her skill 2 and her skill 1 scale off of effect resistance. But does it? Does it? Not really. A little bit. Don't know. Don't know that yet. And then her skill 1, nothing major to write home about. Applies chill. Skill 2 applies weathering. Okay, so now let's look at her Storm Relic, which seems to be the one that the whales are purchasing. What is different? Okay, so maxed out, it actually does less damage. So attack all enemies for a max of 110 plus 30, so 140 instead of 150. And you see that this bleed rate goes up to 80. So whereas the Frost was 100% chance to inflict weathering, I do believe it was weathering on the skill 3. No, it was chill. So chill. Where that one was 100%, now it is only a 60% chance, but it's for each hit. Whereas I don't believe that the Frost was each hit. Yeah, last hit. So she has a 100% chance to apply 1 dot versus this one has a 80% chance to apply 2 dots. 2 dots. Obviously, they're going to have this dot, and you see this is already higher. This additional damage is 90%. So it kind of evens out. So this goes up to 140 plus 90. So it's 230 versus the Frost. 150 plus 75. What's that? 225. So it almost evens out. 230 versus 225. The damage is similar. But also keep in mind that if she's doing buff explosion, she's going to get more damage because she's probably going to be applying 2 dots on that S3 versus just the 1 with the Frost S3. So is the S3 better? Yes, technically more damage, more dots. It is unequivocally better than Frost. S2, attack all enemies 2 times. All enemies, whereas remember that the S2 on the Frost was a single enemy 2 times. All enemies 2 times. Total damage, 100% of attack. Again, you're getting this resistance scaling, and I do believe it is lower than this one. Yeah, this one was 9.9%. Obviously, this one is going to be lower because it's an AoE. 50% chance to apply weathering for 1 turn versus 100% chance to apply weathering for 1 turn. So there's a little bit of a drawback. So the benefit is that you have the ability to apply it across the board, but it's going to be a coin flip whether or not you apply those dots. So if there's 3 targets or 4 targets, you're probably going to land 2 if the coin flips are accurate. So still, you're applying more dots with the Storm S2 versus the Frost S2, and it's an AoE. So Wind, I think, has it beat. Attack 1 enemy, total, blah, 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 50% chance. And you can get that up to 60% chance to apply a bleed for 1 turn, but that's just the S1. So Wind, I think already, we saw the S3 is better, the S2 also better. I'm not going to say arguably better. It's better. It's non-arguably better, which isn't a word, but whatever. And then now let's look at the fire. Now, keep in mind, because this is going to come up before or later, the current Gorgos boss in Hall of Conquerors, the Blazing Gorgos, is a fire element, so you're going to want Frost. You're not going to want to use the Wind against the fire because that's a backwards elemental affinity. So where the Wind is going to come in more handy is if you're going up against Frost type elements. So you could run him in like say Aldry. Or you could run them in the Frost Dragons. Or for PvP, if they are running, say, a Frost Brennan and they have a Frost Anya. Okay, now if you're really keen and you're really on your PvP, you're going to switch to the Wind Relic to tackle those teams. Because a lot of people, as they're getting Frost Brennans, are moving to Frost. So what this is doing is if you really want to spend the money to be ahead of the people that spent money on Brennan, or, I guess you could have got lucky and got the Frost Relic on Brennan, but the Wind Relic is probably going to be better for PvP as well. Although the current meta in PvP is Fire Element, so Fire Brennan, which everyone was going for, and Fire Ceres. So she is going to be a direct counter to those types of meta teams in PvP. And I know she's not initially, when you look over her, you don't think of her as a PvP unit, but she is, and I will show you that. So Wind, it has some PvE uses, but better for PvP against certain lineups. Frost is going to be just sufficient, though I wouldn't spend $100 to get the Wind Relic, even though we already said that it is arguably better than Wind. Now, Fire, how does it stack up? It is, again, an AoE. 50, attack all enemies 2 times. This stacks up, so 135 plus 50, so 185, so more damage. But you see the burn rate, we can only get this up to a 70% chance. So even lower than the Wind. But it is, again, for each hit to apply burn. Okay. So more damage. And this additional damage goes up to 85%. So this fire is the hardest hitting one damage-wise. And to compensate for that benefit, you have a 10% less chance, or against Frost, a 30% less likelihood of landing those burns. But keep in mind, you have a chance to land 2 as well with the fire. So is this better than the Frost? Yes. Obviously, you would want to use this against Storm type elements. Say, like if there's a Storm Anya, Storm Brennan in PvP. Or Tarask, or name your other Storm element, right? S2. Skill 2, attack 1 enemy 2 times. So we're back to the single target, hitting an enemy 2 times versus the Wind AoE. Frost also single target. 140% attack. Again, you're getting this 90%, so it's back up to, or 0.9% conversion of resistance into damage. And 75% chance you can take that up to 80 to apply weathering for 1 turn. So very, very, very similar to Frost. Although this one hit for 175. This one is only up to, at 30, 170. So a little bit less attack. A little bit less, but somewhat similar. And then the S1, we don't really need to discuss S1. You know, it's just an S1. So, frost, sufficient. Wind or storm, better. Better all around. But do keep in mind the elemental affinities in PvP and in PvE. Fire, the S3 was still better. Again, keep in mind all of your elemental affinities in PvP and PvE. But for the TLDR, frost sufficient. Okay, so that is the passives. That is the relics. Let's talk about the chivalries. So I have mine up to C6. And like Brennan and like Arthur, Brunhild is more than sufficient at C5, but I would recommend, if you can, without spending money, to get her up to C6, and I'll show you why as we discuss the chivalry. So, C1, Lingering Wind, additional effect, 100% independent chance to inflict weathering on each enemy for 1 turn. I do believe this is her P1 at the start of battle. At minimum, that is required because remember her first hit that she takes, her first attack, she will attack again if they have a dot. So if you do not have another daughter to dot up the enemies prior to attacking, this is what's going to allow her to do that herself in order to line up her big hits, her big nukes. So this one, mandatory, absolutely mandatory C1. If you have her at C0, you're already quite nerfed. So if you see videos of running a Brunhild at C0, it's basically like watching a tricycle with only the front wheel. It's just going to be slow. It's not going to perform very well. C2, so this is again her P1, her passive 1. This is what's going to give her that wind chill. Now, remember, she needs 2 wind chills to get the mate to line up all of her nuke. So if you don't have her at her C1 and her C2, she's not going to get that second wind chill when she does her first attack. It's not going to fall off and turn into attack increase 2, which is 40% extra attack. So C1, C2 are mandatory. Again, broken tricycle. If you don't have her C1, C2, she is not going to perform out of the box. C3, Storms source skill enhancements. So when wind chill is removed, right, apply weathering on selected target. So this one, just going to apply an extra dot. Not groundbreaking, but if this dot is applied before the attack, so when she goes to attack, she's going to strip those 2 wind chills off. If this applies before the attack, that is 1 extra dot. That is 1 extra source of increased damage for the dot explosion. So you understand how people that are running a C0 Brunhild, if you see videos of it, they are not going to be getting the benefit of this stacking, layers of stacking damage multipliers, and they're going to see basically gimped performance. So don't use a C0 footage as a baseline of what she can do. At least minimum, make sure they're at like C3. C4, skill enhancement reduces the cooldown by 2 turns. Oof. This is the C3, or the passive 3. So I did not realize this starts with a cooldown of 3. Ouch. So you're not going to get this wind chill. This wind chill isn't going to constant. You're going to, if you don't have her C4, you're basically missing out on lots of turns of increased attack, increase 2. Yeah. So you're going to miss out on a lot of that because it's going to be on a 3-turn cooldown. So C4, mandatory. Really, I'd say the only one that's not mandatory so far is her C3. But C1 mandatory, C2 mandatory, C4 mandatory. It's cooldown by 2, sorry. But this basically reduces the cooldown to 0. So you see mine's a cooldown of 0. Oh, ouch. All right. C5. Chill Vortex, which is her passive 2. What does it do? Strengthens. Pressure Surge. Okay, so all of my testing has been with the C5 Brunhild. So also, you see videos of people that do not have a C5. let's see what the dot explosion originally looks like. Attack all enemies 3 times. Total damage 100% of attack. Damage is going to increase by effect resistance by only 0.7, not 0.9. And 100% independent chance for the last hit to trigger dot explosion. Okay, why is explosive gust better? Ooh, lots better. Okay. So you're going to get that 0.9% of attack conversion from resistance. And then you're going to get the dot explosion. Now, what you're additionally going to get is you're going to get that ignore 10% defense. You're also going to get the 100% chance to inflict effect resistance decrease 2 on the enemies, which is going to line up subsequent hits. You're also not going to charge your allies' attack gauge. Is this one mandatory? I would say no. If you get her up to C4, you're going to be missing out. Yes, this is a 10% cut through defense. That's going to be significant. But is it mandatory? Probably not. The rest of the stuff, this is all good stuff, though. All good stuff. But I would say given all that, I would say her minimum to work somewhat properly is C4. Her C6, which is where I say you should shoot to get to, this is going to give you 10% attack and then attack speed. And then C7, more 15% attack, so that's going to make her even better. So, and then C8 is defense and HP. Defense and then HP. So if you can get her up to like C7, then she's primo. She's ready to go. She's ready to do everything possible that she can do. All right, so that's the chivalries. Very important. I didn't realize the chivalries were that important. So if you see people, again, like I've said, making videos of a C0 Brunhild, no. You're not really watching. That is not a guide video because they're not showing you what she could possibly do, unfortunately. All right, so that's chivalries, that's passives, that's relics. Let's talk about equipment. Equipment is contentious. It is contentious. This is what I've been seeing as the best build as of now. This information is subject to change. But this seems to be performing the best, and we will do a little bit of experimenting at the tail end of this video to try to dispel some of the arguments around builds for her. So I've seen some people putting her with accuracy. You don't really need to build her with accuracy. My accuracy, as you see here, is only 14%. That's more than enough. I have not found her needing any more accuracy. So the main stats you want to build her is as a DPS build. Okay. So you see I have all Ascension and crit rate. I have seen different builds. So I have seen Ascension and Resistance. I have seen Ascension and crit rate with Resistance neck and belt. But this is a pure attack build with the caveat of I do have 70% resistance, and that comes from the belt. So, substats. Well, first of all, let's get through the gears. So, Ascension, you want attack percentage on the neck. Again, we will test this with effect resistance later. You want crit rate because she is a damage dealer and she hits really hard. You want to get her crit rate. Mine is low. I only got 72% crit rate. I want that up higher. But the problem with her is you do want lots of different stats. Attack. So you want an attack ring, crit rate, earrings, attack, neck. And then obviously attack. And then this is going to be HP or defense and then HP. On the keepsakes, I do think you want the corrosion keepsakes because what Brunhild really excels at is one turn nuke. That first turn nuke, right? You just want her nuking. And to do that, she needs dots. And corrosion is going to allow you to stack an additional dot, which is going to translate into more damage. So this is where you want that effect resistance. So obviously this is my only 5-star piece. I need a 6-star piece toot sweet. Effect resistance. And then you want this to be hit accuracy or attack speed. But do keep in mind, if you're running attack speed, you want her slower than your other daughters. So you would still want her clocked slower than Lancelot, slower than Vivian, slower than Anguish, slower than Rosie. So, and for me to keep her just below that benchmark, given all my speed substats, I got to run hit accuracy. Hit accuracy is going to allow her to not miss. That is kind of essential. So she's an attacker. I would recommend hit accuracy on the orb, and then on the banner, pierce. And then if you're looking at substats, obviously you want to get your crit rate up to like 80% to ensure that you crit. So crit rate is going to be your most important substat. That is going to be followed with crit damage. Then attack. slash effect resistance. Because remember, for every percentage of attack, you are going to get an additional 0.9%. Or sorry, for resistance is important because for every percent of resistance, you are going to get an additional 0.9% of attack. Now, you want both ideally, because if you have a percentage of an attack, so if say this piece which has effect, or say I had 0, say this, let's say this one. This is giving me 2.86% effect resistance. That's going to translate into an extra like 2.6% attack. But if this was 2.86% attack, I'm gaining more attack than if this was, I'm gaining more stats than if it was just effect resistance. So you kind of want everything. You want a mix of both. But this is going to go into that question of should you stack effect resistance or attack. I think you should stack attack before effect resistance, but obviously crit rate to 80, then crit damage, then attack, and then like attack speed, and then throw on some effect resistance if you can as well. Ideally, you would want all four. You would want crit rate, crit damage, attack, and effect resistance. That would be a perfect build for her, or a perfect substat build for her. Attack speed also okay. This one 20. And then you see a little bit of effect accuracy can't hurt because you do need to apply dots and you do need effect accuracy for that. Should you put an effect accuracy belt or neck on? No, I don't think you should. So crit rate, hit accuracy, that piece okay. Attack speed, crit damage, effect accuracy, crit rate okay. Defense, dead stat, crit rate, effect accuracy, attack, that's okay. Crit damage, attack, okay, but basically dead stat, dead stat, dead stat. Crit rate, so that's the main stat. Then attack speed, crit damage, evasion, kind of a dead stat. Attack speed, okay. Crit damage, okay. Effect accuracy, okay. Defense, dead stat. So my substats are all pretty good. HP, basically dead stat, good stat, good stat. Dead stat, good stat, good stat. Recovery, definitely dead stat. But I don't want to roll that attack speed and attack percentage off. Effect resistance, special, awesome. Crit damage, attack, good. HP, defense, dead stats. So that is how I'm going to recommend building her. These are my stats at C6. Okay? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Anything else we didn't cover? I think that's it. Let's go to equipment. Now, obviously, okay, let's talk about engraving, because that's going to be a thing now. Now, obviously, what do I want from here? Do I need more crit rate? Since there's no attack here, this is the perfect time where I would want some effect resistance, right? Let's say like defense and effect resistance. Or do I care? Let's just go random. Don't care. Effect resistance. So this is one place with a stat engraving. Since I can't get attack percentage, this is a place where I can get some extra effect resistance. Now, maybe I can squeeze out another, there's what, 6 pieces, 9 pieces. Maybe I can squeeze out another 10% effect resistance there. But, you know, I would really actually more prefer to get that crit rate up a little higher. So there's, you know, this is one place where this is going to allow you just to top off those stats that you can't get from rerolling. So some good stuff here. Obviously, if we're going over here to these pieces, you're going to get different stats. You're going to get your attack there. But again, here's where you can get some more effect resistance and some crit rate. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing some stat engraving on her. All right, so what did we miss? Did we miss anything? I think that's it. All right, one thing to take away, if you've taken away nothing from now, is you need her minimum C4. No, sorry, C5. I think it was C5. You need her minimum like C5 for her to do anything. Otherwise, she's just going to be a Florentius in your roster. And for gearing wise, build her as a DPSer with a corrosion keepsakes. For you guys can refer back to the main stats. Okay. Now, after all that's said and done, 34 minutes in. Now I'm actually going to show you guys some instances of where she shines in this game. Obviously, I'm not going to do this run, but obviously, as Netmarble is doing, she is basically the required hero to score meaningfully on this new Blazing Gorgos in Hall of Conquerors. So if we show you the top 3 currently in my bracket, or everybody, you see 86, 69, 55. You know, I'm struggling here. And then down here, you see there's no, you know, drops off to 47 with an Anya instead of a Brunhild. Brunhild, yeah, 53 Brunhild, 47. That one's a C5. No. So C10 Brunhild. Look at this guy. There's Loki. There's Loki. I don't know what guild you're in now, Loki. Omniscient. Okay. So Loki's still playing. Loki's gonna as soon as he plugs in this one, he's gonna jump right to the top. Loki's doing awesome. Definitely doing awesome. So I'm gonna slide down to 4th. But you see, she is tailor-made for this dungeon. I'm not gonna show you guys exactly how I do it, but if we were to show you my setup, so she is 3-2-3-2, paired with Vivian. Vivian's going to reduce passives because she reduced passives. I think I can't remember where it is in her kit. She's going to apply amplification. So she's basically going to be a vigor battery. And I don't know where it is, where the passive reduction came into play. But she's going to reduce passives on your Brunhild and allow her to do the buff explosion more often. So that's why I have her set up like that. So she's going to do the buff explosion quite a bit. All right. So she's obviously required there. That's not even a question. Now, let's start looking at some dungeons. So, you ready for it? Don't blink, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. Watch this. So let's put in Morgan, and let's let her rip. Okay. You want to see some buff explosion in action? Here we go. Here we go. Gorgos. Not that Gorgos was hard already. Load him up and knock him down. Boom. Dead. Okay. That's buff explosion. Keep in mind, all those stacking wind chills, or wind, whatever they're called, which turns into attack increase 2. You know, she's with her Chivalry, she's going to be applying all those dots, and then those are going to explode as well. So, burning, you know, did you need her for Burning Land 10? No. But now let's take out Morgan, though, because I do want to highlight this. So, if you were just to have, say, like a Rosie, right? Rosie A. Let's show you a little bit of testing on, is she, you know, this whole buff explosion thing. So, let's repeat battle. I want to show you as they all stack up. Okay. So, oh, I should have. So now, oh, what happened there? Oh, she didn't have enough. So, oh, he took a turn. Okay. Forfeit. Let's do this. So let's actually get rid of Rosie, because I need the vigor for her to do her big move. So Vivian. Okay. So let's do this so I can pause it. Okay. So is she required for this? No, but I want to show you what the buff explosion does. So without Morgan, she's not going to one-shot him. So there it is. Boom and boom. Okay. So after the buff explosion, you know, obviously the dots all fell off because she exploded them. Gorgos here ended up with just under half health. All right? Okay. So let's show you the previous team. After he took his first turn, obviously he took a bunch of that damage before he took that turn. But let's show you that battle with Rosie in there. So my old team. The old team. Rosie. Rosie. Okay. Oh, well, so I guess we're doing it manually. Okay. So we're loading them up with dots. Left side, more dots. Big old hook of death. That's going to add some more. And then this is going to apply another one. And now we're going to apply another couple. Okay. Boom. So, obviously after the first turn, he was hurt more. He was hurt more. Why? Okay. So obviously we have all those additional dots from Rosie coming into play. So there was less with Brunhild in there. She did apply some of her own, but with Rosie's S3 and her Hook of Death, she's actually applying a lot more dots. So then when he eventually takes a turn, all those dots are going to proc, and now you see Gorgos at where he is. So is Brunhild necessary for Gorgos? No, absolutely not. She is not necessary. Does she work here, though? Yes. Does buff explosion work? Yes. Is she needed? No. No, 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 no. In fact, if you put Morgan in here, obviously you saw with Morgan, she will kill it in just one cycle of your turns. You can't do that with Morgan in here. In this lineup, if you were to say have Morgan in for Vivian, and you just had the 3 daughters, so she's made for here. Is she needed from here? No. But also, I wanted to show you guys what the buff explosion looked like with Morgan versus the buff explosion without Morgan, right? Markedly different scenarios. Okay. Where else can you use her? So let's try Frozen Plain. I think I tried this. So there you go. I took out my wind Arthur, my normal Arthur, and we're bringing in her. Obviously, if she was a wind relic, obviously she would do much better in this boss. But let's see. Now, because Audrey's supposed to be kind of immune to dots, right? Oh, let's just go like this. So Morgan's going to go. We're going to get that defense down. Tristan's going to go. He's going to do his big whammies. And now let's see what she does. Tristan, obviously MVP. So she's Frost, so she works. Boom. And now here comes the buff explosion. Boom. She did okay damage, but Frost Arthur is likely arguably better. But if you had a wind, if you had a storm element of Brunhild, sure, bring her in here. She'd be not bad. She'd probably be better than that rare Arthur. Okay. So good for the Gorgos and Hall Conquerors. Good for Gorgos, normal Gorgos, but not needed. Now let's show you guys some good old PvP. But first, since she's Frost, let's try her an old Yaskell Hag. Okay? So Arthur, cool. You know, Arthur did some good work there. But let's bring in an actual Frost hero. So Arthur was good there, but we're gonna bring in the deeps. We're gonna bring in the real deeps. I think I had her unfortunately set up to do. Oh no, yeah, okay. All right, we'll just do that. Okay. All right. Let's move this to 1. Don't want to waste all my stamina. Target the boss. Go. So obviously, you know, she's gonna just destroy all the whelps at the start of battle. They got Mark. They got Weathering. We're going to apply some defense down to one of them. And there she goes. Boom. Didn't even need to use her back or follow hits. Problem is now that's on cooldown. So she's not going to get the buff explosion this time. So whack. Took out the wing though. And then Iwerid comes in for a little bit more. Boom. Boom. Pretty much dead. Pretty much dead. In fact, Morgan's probably going to finish him off. So does she work there? Yes. Is she needed there? No. But I think that felt like it was faster than when my Arthur was in that team. Because Arthur, he'd clear all the beginning whelps. But then he would he'd be on cooldown too, and he couldn't do his follow-up attack. So you can obviously fire element, and she's ice, so she's no-brainer. You can use her there. Can you run her in Portage Sanctuary? Which, let's try it. Okay, let's try it out. So the problem is that she is the negative element. She's the negative element. So obviously you want fire. And wind is strong against ice. So, is she better here than Arthur? I'm going to think no. I have yet to test this out, so I'm curious. See how she does, though. Where she's nice, though, is that she's an AoE. So, those are all dead. That's good. But Arthur could have done that, too. Okay. Now let's see how she does. She has the highest attack, so she's going to be silenced. And she's going to take a lot more damage. But remember, Anya will clear that silence. So, cooldown. She might not even live as Frost. No, she didn't even live. Okay. So, can you use her here? Maybe not on stage 10. Maybe not on stage 10. Arthur, given that he's fire element, still far, far better there. But if you had her as a fire element, you could definitely use her there. But that's going to be a ways down the road from the time of this recording, because she just came into the game. Her elements are only purchasable, and they're not going to be available for summoning for 6 weeks as of now. All right, cool. So obviously you need her for the event dungeon. We're not going to get into that. That's a no-brainer as well. You need her to easily score the most bonus points to get stuff from that event dungeon store. Obviously, you're going to want to run her in her specific favor dungeon. Here you go. Here's the team. I'll show you what happens when we run her here. It's just a massacre. So obviously, wind elements, they're stronger against her, but that's not going to matter much. She's still just going to blow through them. Boom, 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 boom. Obviously, fire is stronger against wind, which Lancelot and Vivian and Merlin are all fire elements. So, but let's show you guys here. She still does good damage, right? She's technically the only damage dealer on this team. Now, Vivian's going to be reducing her passives, so she should be able to do the buff explosion on her next, this one right here. No, it wasn't that one. It's the next one. And this should kill him all together. Boom, and the follow-up, nuke. And you're dead. So can you use her here? Yes, absolutely you can use her here. Do you need to? No. I was beating this on stage 10 well before Brunhild came into the game. Alright, now let's show you guys the fun part. The fun part. PvP. PvP. Alright. Initially, reading her kit, you wouldn't think she was good at PvP, but she is a PvP beast. Okay. Let's see. What do we got here? So, since she's Ice Element, she's going to do really well against the current fire meta in PvP. Fire Brennan, Fire Ceres. Where she struggles is against, say, like this lineup. Anything with, like, Anya, she kind of struggles against. But I want to show you what it looks like against a team like this. So, obviously, Fire Ceres lead. So, I'm going to point and shoot at Nika. So, boom, 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 and follow up, nuke, say goodbye. They're all dead. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Obviously, wind element, she didn't do as much damage against wind, but don't worry. We will finish them off quite soon. There we go. And then Ceres is going to love tap you, and you're going to die. But you guys saw all that damage at the beginning on her first hit, right? Like, she was just nuking fools. All right, easy it. Okay, easy. In my last video that came out today as well, I also highlighted this fight. This guy is one of the best. He is in the best PvP team in the world right now. Like, it's not even a question. The Russians, whatever they're translated into, are just monsters. Okay, let's target Frost Morgan. No, let's target Nika. Boom! They're all dead. Just gone. Just gone. Just absolutely gone. And now you got Healing Decay. Now you're going to kill yourself. If Ceres doesn't kill you first. Kind of fitting that Brunhild was one to do it. Like, that's just silly. That's just silly. So, her being into the game is going to shake up the PvP meta. Because, like I said, the current PvP meta is like a Fire Ceres, Fire Brennan. Or it's a mix. It's like Fire Ceres, Brennan, all of his relics, Wind, Fire, or Morgan, all of her relics, Nika, and then like Guinevere and Anya. So like someone like this, a team like this with Anya, Frost in it, that's gonna just mow me down. And okay, I'll show you. So this is where, if I had like a storm element, if I had a storm element Brunhild, I struggled with that one, I might be able to nuke Anya down, but I'll show you, because Anya's follow-up attacks are just going to kill her down. Brunhild's really, really squishy. So let's target her, and especially with also with Guinevere's increased defense. So look, we didn't even pull off all the shields, which I don't know how that works. But yeah, we didn't kill anything. So now they're all healed back up. It's like we didn't do a thing. So then she's... Yeah, and look at that. We're almost all dead. Obviously. Why? Because Frost Anya is also a counter to this. Like, there's no way. She's just going to counterattack us and we're dead. So, keep in mind, it's not broken. It definitely is not broken. It has its counters. Alright, so what do we got here? Let's target Wind Morgan. Because that's obviously the off element to ice, so I want to ensure that I get all these. I want to focus on her to nuke her down. Where'd she go? Oh my god, they're all gone. The whole team is gone. Bye-bye, Brendan. Oh, poor Brendan. It's really, really fun. It's really, really fun. And nuke and gone. Okay. Okay, so now let's go do some testing. If you guys don't want to watch anymore, that's cool. Enjoy the deep dive. Tell me in the comment section down below what you thought or what you think of Brunhild. Okay, so now let's figure out this effect resistance thing. Okay, so we're going to do it on normal Gorgos. We are going to do it without Morgan. So that... Okay, so where is she? We are going to do it without Morgan. So that we can get some... we won't nuke the boss in that one follow-up. So that we can actually look at her damage numbers and see what she does. Okay, so... Let's... I think that's good. So, obviously, you guys saw my current setup. This is the pure DPS setup. So, let's see what we can figure out for testing. Let's point at him. Okay, first, we got to make sure that all the buffs are lined up. So, we got to control the variables. Okay, so what do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dots. Okay. 11 dots before we do the big hit. Whack. And oddly enough, she did not get to do her explosion. It did charge the attack gauge, but it did not buff explode. Okay, there, it did. No, it didn't. He took a turn and they moved. So something weird happened there. Something really weird happened there. Something really weird happened there. But that's the first time I've seen the buff explosion not work on me. Alright, first, forfeit. Anguish targeted the wrong thing. So, we're going to have to put this on auto. Full auto, okay. Repeat, target head. Target head. Okay. Is it only on auto it works? Because now we're going to see your buff explode. And boom, and follow up nuke. Okay. Okay. So if I forfeit now, will I still get my damage meter? I do. Okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Where's a pen? So, damage dealt. This is in the attack build. This is, you know, only after she went and did her buff explosion. So she did a whopping 1.429 million damage. Okay. Now let's deck her out. Now let's go in here and let's do some tweaking. Equipment. Because what we can do, so we can let's just barely tweak it. Let's go Ascension that. Detailed settings. Ascension that. We want an effect resistance neck piece. All right. So now we're going to need, and I know I have a 6-star crit head. So what's changing? So obviously we're getting rid of the attack. So her attack is way down. We're getting rid of the attack necklace. But you see her defense higher, her speed about the same. Her crit rate marginally lower. Her crit damage a little bit lower. But you see we're gaining an extra 32% effect resistance, which if we're gaining 9.9 conversion, that's like what? Like 27%? 27% resistance converted to attack. So let's try this build. So this is still a damage ascension crit build, but now we have more resistance. Oh, and then me like a dumb butt turned it off. Okay. Crit ascension. So we're gonna equip that. This is the same pieces, and then we're gonna equip that. So do keep in mind the crit rate and crit damage was a little bit lower, but that resistance was way up. Okay, yeah, equipped. Let's go in here. So, repeat battle. 1, that targets the boss. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stop right after she does her nuke. So, more resistance, less attack. And then the nuke, boom. Alright. Forfeit. Battle stats. Offense. Alright, so the numbers are already coming in my favor. So that was with the full DPS was 1.429 total damage. The attack crit build, but with higher effect resistance, came in at 1.334. So not game changing, but it is 100,000 less damage just after she's done her first set of attacks. Okay? So, less. All right, now let's try that again. Now let's try to give her even more effect resistance, because if we go into resist gear, we can... we got to do a little bit of different tweaking here. So here's some effect resistance. We're losing a little bit of attack, but we're gaining some crit damage. So let's go and let's do it this way. Equip. We got this. So crit damage. Well, we'll figure what we're losing when we do the thing. Now I need to find an ascension crit rate. Earrings. And unfortunately, I do not have... That can't be right. Main stat. Crit rate. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. 6 star, 6 star, 6 star. So let's steal Brennan's, because he's got attack, some crit damage. I don't want to level up that one. So temporary equip. Now, how are our stats look? So, why? Oh, so keep in mind that we're coming from the Ascension Ascension crit resist. So this is the Ascension resist build. Attack overall, a little bit higher, but nothing crazy. Her attack speed is a lot lower, unfortunately, but that shouldn't matter. She should still hopefully go before Gorgos. Her crit rate is dropping significantly, so we're losing a lot of crit rate. But her crit damage is up, and now we're at 131% effect resistance. Now, it is unfortunate, and I do believe it was probably her headpiece that had... Well, it didn't have all the crit rate. I think it was probably this. We got to figure out where we lost all that crit rate. Where is it? Where did my earrings go? Oh, they're still equipped. No. Crit rate wasn't there. Must have been on here. I don't know where I'm losing the crit rate. Somehow I lost 19% crit rate. Oh, it's because I don't have the set. Duh. Stupid. Wow, I can't believe it took me forever. Okay, yeah, because I'm losing the crit rate set. So lower crit, lower. Obviously, you're probably going to want to run this build, but like we already said, this build already is performing more poorly. So let's change it anyway. Let's go do this test. But I don't like her crit rate being that much lower. It makes it not a very, very good test. Because if she doesn't crit on those 2 hits, then it's not gonna be a good comparison. So let's see. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to tell. So that crit. And it looks like those did crit. Those all look like crits. So I think we're good. I think we're good to test here. I think we're good. So this is the attack resist build, or the ascension resist build. And it did a little bit better. A little bit better. So I've got them all written down here. I'm sorry you can't see them, ladies and gentlemen. But there's my numbers right there. So the Ascension crit attack build did 1.429 million damage. The Ascension crit resist build did 1.334 million damage. The Ascension resist build did 1.347 million damage. So almost very, very, very similar to the Ascension crit resist build. But limited testing, but testing indeed, the attack numbers are higher. So now what we're going to do, just to make sure that first one wasn't a fluke, we're going to put her back in the attack damage and we're going to run her again. So we're going to put her back in her original gear. So crit, Ascension. I'm sure glad those hits all crit, because that would have been some bad testing otherwise. And then we're going to put her back in that. And then we're going to put her back in that. So now there's her original gear set. Now let's make sure that first testing wasn't a fluke. 1.429. 1.429. Boom and boom. Forfeit. 1.429. 1.439. So more. Okay. So you guys take this information for what it is, diagnose it or analyze it how you may. But it appears that more attack is better. Better over, so attack main stats better than effect resistance main stats and effect resist gear. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it. We went over an hour, but these deep dives, they tend to be pretty extensive. So obviously, word of the day, safe word of the day, if you've made it an hour into my video, is Valkyrie, because Brunhild is the Valkyrie. She is the Valkyrie. Brunhild. Or not Brunhild. Valkyrie, put that down in the comment section below. It'll let me know you made it through an hour of me rambling. And I will like your comment, and I will say thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns other than that, let me know. Till next time, where's the button? Cheers, peace. Bye-bye.